Hello everyone, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this is a Q&A episode, so let's actually get started, shall we? So Benjamin, your questions first. Why was Sinornithosaurus thought to have venom? Well, the hypothesis behind this was that there was a part of the maxilla that had a cavity in the maxilla or otherwise on the maxilla, and there were they also paleontologists saw the grooves on the teeth, mainly on the part of the enamel of on the upper teeth of Sinornithosaurus, and they thought that was the area of a venom gland, and that hypothesis was kind of stuck for a while, but then later studies have actually showcased that no, this is not an indication of that Sinornithosaurus had venom. So it was basically maybe that part of the maxilla just got a little bit torn up when it was discovered, or otherwise, that's how the maxilla looked. And the grooves on the teeth, it doesn't necessarily mean that this animal could produce venom. It pretty much could actually have the venom drip from the teeth into the wound of the animal. That's not the case. It's that there are some grooves on teeth of other dinosaurs and even reptiles, mammals that look like that, but they don't secrete venom. And so that hypothesis has been debunked. It's been debunked. So the venom hypothesis on Sinornithosaurus is debunked. Now, could there have been dinosaurs that had venom? It's a possibility. We don't know, because we just don't know when venom was actually used in terms of land animals. We do know in terms of sea animals. We do find animals that lived in the ocean millions of years ago that can produce venom. It's just that we just don't have that much of evidence in terms of when did this happen on land yet. So, but there is some hypotheses of it probably did start when the first reptiles started showing up on Earth, but that is to be determined. But yeah, Sinornithosaurus being venomous, that's been debunked. Is Tarbosaurus the most common predatory dinosaur in its time? Well, in terms of where the rock formation in Mongolia and China where Tarbosaurus fossils have been found, it is very, very common. It is one of the more common tyrannosaurs in the Cretaceous part of Mongolia and China. And so we do find a lot of Tarbosaurus specimens. There are a lot of Tarbosaurus specimens in Mongolia, especially mainly in the Gobi Desert, and the rock formation that houses them. And what we do see is that it is very common, probably lived in areas where it would have been fossilized a little bit more often. But yes, it is considered to be a very common dinosaur to be found. But also, you can also say that, you could say the same thing about Protoceratops. You can say the same thing about some of the oviraptorids that have been found there too. But yeah, I would probably say it's one of the more common theropod dinosaurs in the rock formation that houses in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia and China. Why do some illustrations depict Basilosaurus as looking similar to a mosasaur? Well, it's because when Basilosaurus was described, it was described as a marine reptile. And so they thought it was a marine reptile. But it wasn't until, I believe in the 70s is when they actually determined Basilosaurus is not a reptile. It is actually a mammal. It is a early whale. And we do see a lot of artist illustrations of Basilosaurus from the early 1900s and even all the way down into the 1960s, showcase that it looked very reptilian, because they thought that Basilosaurus was a marine reptile. But it is not a marine reptile, it's a primitive whale. And so, or a basal form of an early whale. And we do have, and since that the fossils showcase that it is part of the mammalian group because mammal bones are more dense and all that. So, like, whale bones technically are very dense. They're very dense. And yeah, that's probably the reason why is that they were thinking, like, one of the reasons why is because they thought, like, oh, this is a marine reptile. It's very similar to a mosasaur. But then they kind of saw, like, how the vertebrae are actually attached and also what the skull looked like. Then that's when they realized, like, wait a minute, this isn't a marine reptile. It has two different kinds of teeth. Like, if it was a reptile, it would be one set of teeth. If it was a marine reptile, it would be one set of teeth. But we find two. So we have, like, these, like tusk-like teeth in the front, and then we actually see these, like, molar teeth that actually are mountain-shaped and could slice up prey. And so they probably look like, oh, this is an early whale, and that's how they actually figured that out. But yeah, a lot of illustrations back then in the early 1900s all the way to the 1960s. It's where we see a lot of Basilosaurus looking like a marine reptile, but now it's an early whale. And your last question: how come in Jurassic World Rebirth they made Titanosaurus look as if it is the biggest dinosaur ever? Well, first and foremost is that we gotta bring out the elephant in the room here in terms of that Titanosaurus is not a valid name. Titanosauridae is valid, and so what was Titanosaurus is very fragmentary fossils that were found in, I believe, in India, if I remember correctly, and the thing is, they were given the name Titanosaurus because of the large, like, bones that it actually had, but the bones that were discovered for Titanosaurus were very fragmentary and also not very great at determining a new species. And so you got to follow the rules when it comes to that stuff. But back then, they kind of was like, let's just name this thing, But yeah, Titanosaurus in general, so, like, it could be like any type of titanosaur. Like, it could have been Argentinosaurus. It could have been, like, who knows? Or Patagotitan. It's not Dreadnoughtus because Dreadnoughtus was already featured in Dominion. Being the largest, it could be, maybe it could have been Argentinosaurus, and they just, like, or we're just going to call it Titanosaurus because Titanosaurus just sounds cooler. That's been the thing with the Jurassic franchise for a long time, is that they'll take a dinosaur that they go like, oh, this is amazing, this is a cool dinosaur, what is this one called? And then like the paleontologists say, oh, this one's called Argentinosaurus. And they go like, wow, that's a long name. And the paleontologists say, yeah, it's a long name, but it's part of a group of dinosaurs called Titanosaurs. And they go, ooh, Titanosaurus, that sounds cool. Let's call it Titanosaurus instead. That's probably what happened. And so, being the biggest ever, that really is kind of a stretch. But Titanosauridae, yes. The group of sauropods that are part of the Titanosauridae, they are the largest dinosaurs to have ever walked the earth. And because they are very large forms of sauropods. And so, yes, Titanosauridae have the largest dinosaurs, largest land animals to have ever existed. But Titanosaurus, in general, no. And so that's just a trope that the Jurassic franchise has done for many, many years. All right, Nicholas, your question, another Jurassic World Rebirth question, but I'll take it. In Jurassic World Rebirth, there was a huge herd of Titanosaurus, and I was wondering if it is possible for the biggest of sauropods like Argentinosaurus and Patagotitan lived in big herds like that in the movie, or do they only do it for mating season or lay eggs? I think they did live in small herds because we do have trackways of sauropods that actually kind of go in the same direction. And so we do know that they did travel in herds. Were they really large herds? Probably not. They probably weren't really large herds, like say they had hundreds of them it would probably have been more on like say between 10 and 15 members in a herd. I mean, it's still a pretty good amount for a herd. And like you probably have males that like full grown adult males living on their own most of the time, but they probably did come towards like the herds that do still have like adolescent, like very young males, like say not quite towards adulthood yet, but and also like you have other juveniles and also some females. And during mating season, they actually would gather to actually for like mating season. But of course, we do have like nesting sites of titanosaurs, where like titanosaurs laid these huge like clusters of eggs like everywhere. But did they care for their young? Probably not. They just laid a bunch of eggs, and many of them will hatch, and then pretty much just like do the thing like sea turtles do. Is that you have so many like individuals, and the predators can only get like as many as they can, but there's going to be a very few that would survive to actually get to adulthood. You know, I would say they did live in herds. It's just that they probably did not have like that huge of a herd. That's what I would go for, is that they're not going to have like thousands or even hundreds in a herd. They're probably going to be like in the tens, mainly like less than 20 members in a herd. That's my prediction, is that it would probably be less than 20 individuals in a herd. That's probably my guess. Because I mean, like Camarasaurus, like we only find 3 individuals together, so they lived in small herds. So like, why not? They probably did live in herds. But thanks for the question there, Nick. All right, Danielle, your question. Chris, I have a question on your favorite dinosaur books. I have heard a few, and I really want to collect more. I would like to have your opinion on the best. That's a really good question. Well, in terms of my favorite dinosaur books, I mean, like, there's so many out there. Like one of the best ones is Dinosaur Heresies. It's a classic. It's pretty much considered to be the book if you really want to like learn about dinosaur behavior and like how like the science of paleontology had changed. Because like this book came out, I think like in the 60s or 80s, somewhere around there. And like it was written by the legendary paleontologist Robert Bacher. And like that is considered like the book to learn about like dinosaur behavior, and also like knowing like how the science of paleontology has changed from like the old depictions of like the dinosaurs were slow moving, cold blooded like reptiles that probably were too stupid and they didn't know, and they only did like a few things, which is eat, and like reproduce, sleep. That's it, you know. And like now it's more complex behaviors of like say mating dances. These animals were much faster than what we thought. They grew faster than what we thought, and all that sorts of stuff. If you're talking about, but like field guides are always really good ones too, like dictionary or like dictionaries of dinosaur books or encyclopedias to learn about dinosaurs. There's so many encyclopedias that you can choose from. I mean, like there's like some of those like those like old encyclopedias. Like there's one that was written by Thomas Holtz that actually is a really good encyclopedia on dinosaurs. There's a really nice one that came out recently. It's called The Dinosaur Book. It was done by a friend of mine who actually has done that. You can find that review of The Dinosaur Book on my YouTube channel. Go on my extra episode list, and you'll find it. It's like one of the highest viewed videos in terms of reviews, book reviews. But yeah, there's so many of them. Even if like you're looking for a specific type of dinosaur that you want to learn more about, I mean, there's a bunch of Tyrannosaur books. There's also a bunch of sauropod books. There's also a bunch of like ceratopsian. There's a few ceratopsian books. There's even like books on pterosaurs, marine reptiles. I mean, you name it. Even mammals. Like there's so many of them. Like so many of them to go through. Like Dinosaur Heresies is a classic. The Tyrant King book that I did recently in a review many months ago. That's actually pretty neat, even though some information is somewhat dated, but it's actually not too bad. It's still up to date information, but it's still pretty good. Like if you're like learning about like say a specific time in paleontology, there's so many of them. Like there's one about the Bone Wars. There's even ones of like say Barnum Brown. There's a lot. There's so many of them I could hardly actually keep up. But yeah, there's so many of them. Like one of my favorite books is the Tyrannosaur Chronicles by Dave Hone. That is one of my favorite books ever to learn about tyrannosaurs. Like the guy does such an exceptional job of doing all the research necessary to actually comprise that book. He does have a new book that came out a few months ago called The Spinosaur Tales. I really want to get this book and look at it, and that way I can actually get a review of that at some point. And so, yeah, so check out some of Dave Hone's books. There's a couple of books by Phil Curry that you can look at. There's still more on Robert Bacher. There's so many of them. But yeah, there's so many of them to count. So do a little research of like some of the best reviewed books in paleontology. You can check them out. Like there's some are available on Amazon. There's some on Barnes and Noble. Blah 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 blah. There's so many of them. So many of them to choose from. But thank you for the question, though. All right, Alex, your question. What is your favorite Cenozoic mammal, and what is your favorite avian dinosaur? Cenozoic mammal. I've always had a soft spot for Archaeotherium because I thought it was actually such a cool looking, weird looking mammal. Like Angiosarchus is also a cool one to pick. And of course, like Smilodon, the short-faced bear. Paraceratherium is also a really cool one to pick, and even like Basilosaurus. Basilosaurus is one of my favorite Cenozoic marine mammals. Like, there's a lot of them, but I really don't have too much of a favorite in terms of Cenozoic mammals. But those are the ones that I consider as the ones that I do like a lot. And so as far as avian dinosaur, if we're talking about modern day avian dinosaurs, a lot of the birds of prey, even some of the ground birds like emus, cassowaries, even semi-flight birds say peacocks and turkeys, even though turkeys are menacing. By the way, they're menacing when you actually get close to them. But yeah, there's a few of them. But extinct ones, many of the terror birds, I love the terror birds. Terror birds are just so cool. Just that big honking head and that predatory nature of them. It just reminds you a lot of those theropod dinosaurs from the Mesozoic. The big heads like the Tyrannosaurs. The Tyrannosaurs were a great example to actually showcase what these terror birds actually had. It was that very small front limbs, not used for flight, but they had tremendous speed and talons to be able to hold on to the prey and then use its skull to be able to kill its prey. That is just so cool. I love the terror birds, but flight birds, like the modern day ones, a lot of the birds of prey, which are considered the true raptors. Those are the true raptors. Like bald eagles, falcons, owls, even hawks. Those sorts of animals. Even some vultures look cool. Like the ones in Africa, those are cool. Even California condors are actually awesome. The turkey vultures are just ugly looking things. They're just ugly. But modern day avian dinosaurs, I like all of them. And the extinct ones, I tend to like the terror birds a little bit more. The forest rockets. And so that's all the questions I got for you today. Next week will be a special episode. I'll let you guys know what kind of prehistoric animal I'm going to talk about. And so stay tuned for that. There'll probably be a post on the YouTube channel sometime this weekend to let you know what kind of prehistoric animal I'm going to talk about. And if you got a request for a prehistoric animal that you want me to talk about, mainly a vertebrate, mainly a vertebrate animal that you want me to talk about in a special episode in the future, please feel free to do so as suggesting them to me in the comments down below. So that way I can actually put it on the list of animals that I do need to talk about in a special episode. Now, if you do, just to keep and remind you guys, is that if you have made a request in the past, just be patient. Your picks will be chosen at some point. It's just that there's so many requests that I have to get through. And so if yours has not been picked yet, please have some patience. It will come. It will come. But anyway, if you got any more questions about dinosaurs and other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochris71@gmail.com. Or just go to my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page. Yes, you post your questions in the comment section. Please put them in the comment section. Don't put them on Messenger. Messengers are private conversations only. So please put your questions in the comment section on any Facebook post. And also for YouTubers out there, like the video, subscribe to the channel according to my analytics. A lot of you guys that are checking out my channel not subscribed yet, so please feel free to hit that subscribe button and also hit that notification bell so that we can get weekly notifications of every video that comes out weekly. And also for YouTubers out there, share the video, share the channel anybody that's interested in dinosaurs, prehistoric life, paleontology, and geology in general. So please feel free to do so. And with weekly notifications, and if you go on my, and also if you go on my YouTube channel, you go on the post tab. I post like updates on videos, news updates in terms of the dinosaur news cycle, and of course, I post polls every 3 days on the channel, so that way you guys can participate in those polls, and all of you guys are participating in them, you're interacting in them, is really, really good, and I like that, and you guys interact with each other in that sort of way. And also, for YouTubers out there, leave your questions in the comment section, because I do read them all. All of you guys are sending me questions via email, Facebook, and YouTube. You guys are awesome. Give me basic great questions for these Q&A episodes to keep up the great work. And also make sure you keep your questions short and to the point. You can also follow me on Instagram at dino.chris.pf. We'll post pretty cool stuff on there. You can also follow me on Threads, same thing, at dino.chris.pf. We'll post pretty cool stuff on there as well. Also, take care of people around you. And also for your younger people out there, and it makes a list of your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. It's the best motivation you can have a good education. It's very important to have a good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. That's it for now, and I'll see you guys next time.